Ho, 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 gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have the gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Stafford under pressure, and a tuck it, and he's in! Darrell Henderson, he's off and running! As Woods, touchdown! Cooper Kupp just went up and took it away.
Van Jefferson for the touchdown.
Aaron Donald smothers him. Jalen Ramsey with the pop-up. Sacked by Leonard Floyd, having a day again.
Darius Williams with a diving hit. Jordan Fuller comes up with his second interception of the night.
All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co-host, Jake Ellenbogen, and we are coming to you with our recap episode after the Rams took on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore and won 20-19. Very close game, and we are going to break down that game and give our thoughts, but Jake wanted to say a few words before we get this episode started, so I'm going to give him the floor.
Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, I'm not going to, basically, make this whole, a long thing, but I do want to just show my appreciation to everyone that has reached out. Yes, my grandpa Dave did pass away. We're literally recording it on the day of his death. And, it's been a tough day. It's been a tough, past year since I found out that, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is, one of the, least treatable cancers out there. And I just really appreciate everyone that rallied around, me and rallied around him, donated. Alexis, really appreciate you. You've been unbelievably supportive. And, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'll leave you with the last words my grandpa said in regards to the donations. He could not believe that many people cared about him. And so, for somebody that his whole life he cared about, helping other people out and just, wanted, saw the best in people. It was really cool to be able to show him all of the kind words you guys said throughout his fight, 7th month battle. And I'm not going to forget that. So again, really appreciate all of you that supported him during that time. And, I'm going to continue doing what he wanted me to do. He told me when I took care of him in August, and that was the last time I saw him in person. He flat out told me, he's like, I don't want you stopping anything you're doing, regardless of how, this fight goes. And so I'm going to, do that. So we're going to do this podcast, and we're going to enjoy doing this podcast because the Rams did win, like you said, and they needed to. 12-4 Rams, 7-2 on the road. They improved too. They beat, a hard fought Baltimore Ravens team, a very hungry Baltimore Ravens team, a team that has continued to fight no matter who has been hurt. So a lot of credit to them. 2019 victory, but Alexis, it was not an easy game to watch. Well, we can definitely say that.
It was not an easy game to watch. It started off kind of shaky. I think let's just get right to it. It started off with a fight among teammates. It started off with Jalen Ramsey. I don't want to use the term slapping, but it wasn't quite a punch. But it was basically Jalen Ramsey shoving Taylor Rapp in the helmet, and Taylor Rapp was not happy about it, and they got into a little bit of an altercation there. It's important to point out, Jake, that this is never acceptable. There's absolutely no excuse in my mind. Jalen should not have done what he did. I do think it is worth pointing out that this is not a Rams defense or team, quite frankly, that historically gets into altercations with each other, which might not sound like a big deal, but there are teams, that we've seen this happen with before. I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago where, Washington football team's defense on the bench had some players get into it with each other. So
yeah,
there's no excuse for it. Obviously was not happy to see that Jalen did that. I think there's really no reason for it to get to that level, especially with your own teammates ever.
It's embarrassing. It really is.
It was embarrassing as a Rams fan because, for other Rams fans and other people watching the game, when that happens, you're like, I hope this is not, something that they focus on. But of course,
The
you go through
talking
Twitter,
heads. Yeah.
right, and they're all
Of
talking
course.
about it, and it just isn't classy. It's not a good move. But that's how the game started off, which was not a great indicator. But as the game went on, I think our defense, and we'll talk about it more, they really didn't settle down. That's something that I noticed. And it was something, obviously, that the commentators noticed, specifically Greg Olson, who I really, really like as a commentator, by the way. He's great. And he said multiple times that this Rams defense needs to settle down. And again, we'll talk about it, but that was kind of the start of that. But Jake, before we talk about that, I want to go through our offense a little bit, because what you and I both said on the preview episode when we were previewing the Rams versus the Ravens was we had really high expectations for our offense against this beat up Ravens secondary. I mean, because let's be real, like, they are pretty beat up. They have a few guys in there, but they were nowhere near full strength. And this was a game that everyone pretty much expected the Rams to throw all over, the Ravens defense. And I predicted 5+ touchdowns. Did not go my way, but I want to hear your opinion on why the Rams weren't successful in, other than obviously a few touchdowns at the end of the game, why we struggle against a Ravens defense that, quite frankly, is not that good. And if you want, you can tie Matthew Stafford into there, because there's a lot of thoughts about him this game as well.
It was a really weird game. It's a game where you go on the road and people use the excuse, oh, well, if they didn't play at 1 p.m., that has nothing to do with it. You go on the road, you play against a team that's desperate, but a team that is desperate and still has talent. What we don't realize is when we're talking about this team that was banged up, with all their injuries, they still have a very respectable, and I think doesn't get enough credit, quarterback in Tyler Huntley taking over for Lamar. Playing a very similar style offense that Lamar would have played. Is Lamar better? Yes, he's a lot better. But let's give Tyler Huntley the credit that he deserves there. No, I'm not a big fan of Devontae Freeman or Latavius Murray, and I think the Rams really did a nice job, holding them. But, once again, this defense that has been really good against the run, they allow those chunk yardage plays, the explosive runs, and then it kind of all of a sudden at the end of the day, you're looking at a 5.4 yards per carry average on the day for Devontae Freeman, when in reality, I mean, he had, 32 of the 76 yards on 14 carries came on one run. Then you go and you look at Mark Andrews, who's, one of the best tight ends in football right now. Rashad Bateman, the way he's been playing, a lot of confidence with him. Thought they did a nice job of bottling up Marquise Brown. And then you look at the defense. I mean, they still have some big names. We're talking Brandon Williams. We're talking Justin Houston, Jimmy Smith, Calais Campbell, Chuck Clark. I don't want to root for the other team, but I'm glad people finally realize how good of a football player Chuck Clark is, because he had himself a game. He had 2 picks, including one in which he took to the house. He has always been very talented, but he has been kind of, under the radar because of how much, ironically, how much talent was in the back end of the secondary before they got hurt. But Alexis, the big one in this is that they did not have Anthony Averett. And, he has had his moments of weakness, but he has really done a nice job of filling the void and being their number one corner since Marlon Humphrey went down. So at the end of the day, I think the Rams, they did good enough job to win this game, but I think the Ravens really competed well. And this is a game that really came down to the fact that, yes, Stafford turned the ball over 3 times. And I think there was a chance that this could have ended up being the blowout that you were predicting, Alexis. To be honest with you, you go back and, the missed opportunities, that first drive, they look phenomenal. I mean, we're talking they run the ball well. They're getting Higbee involved early on. You're moving down the field and then you get stopped and you kick the field goal and you miss it, right? So you don't get points on that drive. Then you have the pick 6 and you have, another interception and then, which is basically an arm punt. But again, that's an interception there. And then the fumble. And really the fumble in, the red area is huge because the Rams were likely scoring a touchdown on that drive. So when it really comes down to is, yes, Matthew Stafford has to take better care of the football. But you also have to give credit to the Ravens for holding Cooper Kupp under 100 yards, which really only 3 teams have done that this year, including the Ravens. And, at the end of the day, I mean, what it comes down to is that, the Rams had to do a little bit extra to win this game, and it wasn't exactly a comfortable win because the Ravens sold out to stop, Cooper Kupp, and they sold out to stop the run. And, I kept saying on Twitter coming into this game, this team has only allowed 100-yard rusher all season long, and that was Dalvin Cook. They held Jonathan Taylor under, I believe, 60 yards rushing. Najee Harris didn't really have much success against them. So I was thinking, I'm like, Sony Michel is a good running back, but he's not on the level of a Najee Harris or, Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor. So I was like, I won't be surprised if they hold him in check. And, he ran for a 3.9 yard per carry average, had a touchdown. But in all honesty, I thought the Ravens did a nice job under defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. I thought they put together, some very, good gameplay, a good game plan in general. And, they were able to hold Cooper Kupp under 100 yards. And, down the stretch, it really took an all-out effort, all hands on deck, especially Odell Beckham Jr. with the unbelievable catch on fourth down, which, I mean, I'm just going to say this right now, and you and I talked a little bit about this off air. One guy that was called a cancer helped his team win, and the other guy walked off the field. So that's I'm going to leave it at that. You figure out and fill in the blanks there, but just going to say that. Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.
Girls, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of finding a bush when I go down in my man's chimney. Dear Santa, all I want this holiday season is for my man to have smooth jingle balls. Thankfully, Manscaped answered with the Performance Package 4.0, so I don't have to find Santa's beard in my man's pants again. Ladies, this holiday season, get your man products that will leave him smelling fresh with their all-new ultra-premium body wash and a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give the man in your life the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code DTR for 20% off plus free shipping.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly quite literally saved the game there with that catch and seal the deal with that drive. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. And, I tend to, I think the Baltimore Ravens deserve credit for sure. I also do think, though, the Matthew Stafford issue is concerning. I think that, he does tend to heat up late in the game. But my issue with it is that the way that Matthew Stafford played against the Ravens isn't going to win a playoff game. And if it's going to win a playoff game, it's going to be against a team that beats themselves because the pick sixes, the interceptions, underthrowing receivers, throwing behind them, it's just getting pretty tiresome. And I think most Rams fans agree. And listen, I'm also not going to say that Jared Goff is better than Matthew Stafford. I think we should stop that narrative. Listen, I get the stats, about, Jared Goff in his entire career with the Rams through 5, pick sixes or whatever. And Matthew Stafford has already thrown 4. I get it. But here's the deal. The deal is if you watch Matthew Stafford when he's playing well, he is very much better than Jared Goff. And I understand the question mark or the knock is, oh, well, he hasn't been playing good. Yeah, we can have that conversation. It has been concerning how long it takes him to heat up in games sometimes and the decision making that he makes and all of that. But I wouldn't overreact in the sense as if Jared Goff would be out there doing the same thing. Sorry, not the same thing. But, I think, I look back at my tweets sometimes to remember the emotions, Jake, that I feel during the game. And I'm seeing a lot about the Matthew Stafford turnovers, rooting great offensive drives, which did happen during the game. But you also have to look in perspective. Okay, that happened. At the end of the game, he was able to step up when he needed him most. That's great. It's all good there, but I just think if we're going to be in the playoffs, we can't just wait for a fourth quarter hot streak. I think we have to play good all 4 quarters of the football game, and that's been my main concern with Matthew Stafford. I do think our defense, however, now transitioning to the defense, played very well. Listen, I understand there was the 91-yard drive down the field by the Ravens. However, we put up a stand, a goal line stand, which is what matters. They didn't get a touchdown. They kept us in the game. If you watch the game, we had a couple sacks, Von Miller, Troy Reeder, I don't know. Did Aaron Donald or Leonard Floyd get a sack? Or they combined for a sack? You look at Jordan Fuller. He got an interception at a crucial moment in the game. So our defense really is becoming the backbone of this football team, Jake, in my opinion, when before the season, we kind of expected it to be this flashy offense. We thought that our offense was going to steal the show. And really, low key, our defense has been. So, Jake, what were your thoughts on the Rams defense this game?
Well, I mean, you know me on the defense. I've been on them all year, really behind them and really felt like they were playing better than given credit for. And they've just stepped up immensely during this run. I will say it almost felt like they were disinterested on that one long drive, but they were able to get that stop. That happens, whatever. They played their tail off, only giving up 19, on 3 turnovers here. It is just very impressive. Matthew Stafford, though, and it kind of goes back, this has been a collective effort. Stafford struggled early on, but the reason the Rams have been able to win these games is a combination of obviously everyone doing their part. And it comes down to Matthew Stafford, who, I can only describe as just almost perfect when it comes to the fourth quarter this year. In case you aren't aware, he was 8 of 8 for 94 yards and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. His EPA is highest in the league, 0.369, leads the NFL. He's completing 72.8% of his passes, and his passer rating is 126.8, which is a lot higher than the second place guy in the fourth quarter, which is Josh Allen at 115.9. The fact is, Stafford is playing poorly to start games, and they're slow starts. But he has actually been the best quarterback in the fourth quarter by a astronomical margin. And when you combine that with the fact the defense is playing well down the stretch, and you have clutch players and Odell that are making plays, and Cooper Kupp, and Van Jefferson steps up, Sony Michel, this is what happens, and I think this is why that, the last 2 games they could have lost, they've won. The defense kept them in the games for sure, but you got to credit Stafford's ability to battle back. And what I will say is, while it is concerning back-to-back weeks, he's going to get better, and that's the thing, is that his fourth quarter play is the way it is. That's his gameplay, right? He just turns it on in the fourth quarter, has the most fourth quarter comebacks. But the thing with him is that once he figures this back out, because right now he's in a little bit of a rut. If he does figure this out, and I feel like he will, it's going to be unbelievably difficult to stop the Rams, because we're finding out they're winning games in ways you and I flat out went on this show and said they can't win games this way. And now they've won back-to-back games on the road against teams that need to win to keep pace in the playoff race. And they've beaten them, in close games. And I think this to me is one of those games where you throw away the score. You realize they took care of business despite the fact they turned the ball over 3 times. They didn't have Sony Michel absolutely dominating in the run game, and no one went over 100 yards. To me, this is a playoff conditioning win. This is something you love to see, and they're doing this with the injury to Ernest Jones. And I will say this right now, Sony Michel is a big liability in the passing game. So Cam Akers, who basically was announced that he'll be playing this weekend, is going to be a godsend. There were a lot of opportunities the Rams did have that McVay drew up and Stafford led into for the running back to make a play with the ball in his hands as a pass catcher. And they only went for 25 yards on 3 catches. I couldn't help but looking at it, Alexis, says, if Hendo is playing or Cam Akers is playing, those are going for massive gains. They set up the pass well for the running back, and Sony's just not the receiver that either of those two are. I cannot wait to see the dynamic that gets added to this offense with Cam Akers. And so I think they're in a really good spot. I had them losing this game. I had them going 15-2 on the season. They have a chance to go 13-4. So I was 2 losses off if that's the case. But the 2 games I had them losing was the Niners game they've already lost and this game. So that's something to keep in mind there. And they will be playing the Niners now this Sunday, at SoFi. But I really like the direction this team's going in, Alexis. I understand it's kind of weird to say that coming off. If you look at the scoreboard, you see a team that almost lost to a team that's 8-8 right now and is, quite frankly, barely still in the playoff race. But I looked at it as a team that, won a very tough game on the road in a playoff environment, January football, and they took care of business.
And we got, like you said, 1 game left, and then it's the playoffs. We play the 49ers, like you mentioned, at SoFi next week. Should be, a win for the Rams. We're going to discuss that more when we have our preview episode. But it's crazy to believe we're already here, essentially. We're already basically in playoff time. I mean, we have the extra week this year, which feels weird, but we have clinched a playoff spot. Hopefully we can get that top seed, or not top seed, but we can win our division and get a higher seed. So I think that's going to do it for us, Jake. Long story short, we won. A win is a win. 1 point, 20 points. We beat the Baltimore Ravens. Feels good. Won in dramatic fashion, and can't wait to see what we do against the 49ers and in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to finding out who we're going to be playing, because there's a couple different scenarios there. But that's going to do it for us, guys. As always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Craft, and you can follow Jake at JK Bogan. And like I said, we will be back later this week with the preview episode for our matchup against the 49ers. But until then, guys, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Prize Picks is the best app you've never heard of. You can choose between stars from all sports, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 players to increase how much money you win. Join Prize Picks today by using our promo code DTRAMS and get a double deposit on your first deposit when signing up with Prize Picks.